John and Steve are out sailing when a storm blows them off course. Their ship is destroyed and they find themselves marooned on a small island. They soon become hungry. Coconuts are their only viable food source. At first, they both share the best grade of land on the island. Here, they can pick the most coconuts with the least amount of work. After a few days, Steve suddenly proclaims that the best grade of land belongs to him. If John wants to use it, he has to pay Steve rent. Answer this question. John wants the most coconuts possible. He can either work on Steve's land or go to the next best unowned land rent-free. What then will determine the maximum Steve can charge John to use the best grade of land? John's next best alternative will be the deciding factor. The number isn't important, but let's just say John can keep 2 coconuts rent-free on the next best land. If Steve left John with less than 2 on the best land, John would promptly go to the next best. Therefore, the rent is determined by the next best alternative. Now, what would happen if Steve claimed all of the second best land as well? Of course, this would mean that Steve would be able to charge John more. Again, this is because John's next best alternative would be worse. What would happen if Steve claimed the entire island? If John is left with no other alternative, Steve can forcibly demand as many coconuts as he wants. If Steve owns all the land, he owns John. If John has more coconuts after working harder, attaining more skill, or inventing coconut-picking technology, Steve will simply demand more rent. Steve doesn't need to pick any coconuts himself. He simply has to claim land and charge rent. The less land he leaves to John, the more he can charge.